It is Wednesday, it's 8 o'clock, welcome to Tribe TV, so good to have you with us. The Tribe is our online learning community. People from around the world enjoy the Tribe Zone online, 400 modules of teaching and growing every single month. And then we enjoy our social media groups together that are private, where we're pumping out teaching and doing questions and answers and interactions with the people in the Tribe. It is a wonderful learning community. There's different tiers, different ways that you can join. Have a little look online. In fact, if you want to know more, I'll tell you more at the end of this program. Stick around and I'll let you know some information about the Tribe. Right, tonight, this isn't the online learning community. This is some free stuff that we're doing just to keep you inspired and built up in your faith. So tonight I want to share a really faith-building word that will help you grow in your relationship with God. Let's get to it. Let's head to the live teach and hear the word of God.
This morning I'm going to give you an instruction. I am going to tell you some stories. I'm going to make a confession. Looking forward to that now, aren't you? Then I'm going to tell you a secret. They're the four things, okay? So here's the instruction. Joshua is about to take the children of Israel into the promised land. He is the guy that didn't wander in the wilderness. Well, he did with everyone else, but when his moment came, can you say his moment? His moment. This is my moment. It's time to have your moment, isn't it? Everybody's got to have their moment. Yeah. And why not the next 12 months be one of your moments? Yeah. Come on, life's for living. And so we're ending the Thrive series by talking about how we enter into the promises that God has for us and we thrive in those things. Amen? So Joshua is about to take the children of Israel in and he meets God. And God gives him a repeated set of instructions. So should we see what they were? I'm going to show you from this what is important to fulfill destiny, to thrive, to be everything that you are supposed to be, okay? There are going to come destiny moments when this is really important to us making it with all that God has for us. So Joshua chapter 1, I'm literally just going to read little phrases because they're repeated. Joshua 1 verse 6, be bold, be strong. Can you say that to the person next to you? Be bold, not be bold. Ladies, you said be bald to some of those men. That was not fair. Don't get at us. We're doing fine with being bald on our own, but being bold is another thing. Be bold and courageous. Verse 7, God says to him again, be strong and bold and very courageous. Verse 9 repeats himself. Have I not commanded you? In other words, let me remind you. But he only said it like 3 sentences ago. Have I not commanded you? Be bold, be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Verse 18, he ends the chapter with the phrase, only, can you say only? Only. Be bold and be strong. There are moments in life when a bold move is required. There are moments in life when only courageousness is going to get you through. In life, it is okay to pause, but it's not okay to live paralyzed. Okay? A pause is a different thing. We hold on, we pause, we allow some restoration in our hearts. That's a good thing. If something is just way beyond us for a certain season and we don't sense God prodding us forward, pausing is okay. But paralysis across a decade is not okay. And our destiny becomes paralyzed when fear and anxiety start making the decisions in our lives. Okay? So if fear begins to plan our career and fear and anxiety plans our geographical location, if fear is filling our friendships, if anxiety is flooding our relationship with the people around about us in our churches, destiny will know paralysis. But the thing that pushes us through, who knows, there are moments in life when you've got to push through. You've got to apply for that job you're not quite ready for. You've got to push through into areas of ministry that kind of scare you. That's right. But as lovely Auntie Joyce would say, do it afraid. Just do it. Doesn't matter if your heart is beating at a funny rate. As long as your legs keep moving, you're going to make it. You do it afraid. You pray it afraid. You preach it afraid. Do that all the time. You pray for the sick afraid. You go for that job interview afraid. But you go and you do and you say and you pray, because there comes a moment when you realize it doesn't matter what's going on inside me right now. Put it to one side. I will not live in the paralysis of fear. I'm going to do what I feel I should do, and that will push me through to a new place. It's true of us as families. It's true of us as homes. It's true of us as individuals. It's true of us as ministries, departments. It's true of us as church, as a whole. Be bold. You know, sometimes in church I look around and I don't mean to be rude, but every now and then I just sense this blanket of slight dullness. Do you know, that kind of religious, it's getting awfully nice. Everybody's in straight rows singing nice choruses, but you know what I mean? The lights are on, but you know what I mean? And I sense it in my own heart. I hate that dullness. I start to go, arr, arr. Come on, live. Be bold. Be strong. For the Lord your God is with you. Grab it by the, whatever they're called. Anything but Sunday after Monday after Tuesday. Come on. Be bold. Do it. Take a leap.
Yes. Yeah.
It's never a testimony without a test.
Yeah.
You always have to break through and have that stage when you go, oh my Lord, I'm actually doing it. I'm giving up my job. Or we're actually putting on this show, this connect group, this project, this idea. We're actually going to air it. Who knows that actually the first scary thing is tell anyone what's in your heart.
Yeah.
If you told anyone the dreams, don't tell the wrong people. Look at Joseph's brother. Don't tell the wrong people. Tell the right people. Maybe tell fathers, not brothers. I don't know. But we've got to get that sense of belief that there's more to life than this.
Yeah.
If you're getting to your 40s and you've still not leapt, the energy in those legs will run out soon. Leap before you get really scared. Always takes boldness. How do you think those young men felt when Jesus came up and said, follow me?
Yes.
Got good businesses? What will my father think? Because almost certainly the boat and the nets were handed down, and the father had spent all this time training and investing and teaching them how to clean up their nets and teaching them how to fish and teaching them an understanding of what it is to get through high, rough seas. And then all of a sudden, this nutcase of a preacher comes along and says, follow me. And off they go. Do you think the dads were happy? No. Can't live in fear of other people. Paralyze you. Be bold. Be bold, be bold, be bold. So, there's a guy in America called James Maloney, and I met him about a year ago. Remarkable guy, moving in miracles. Even at the conference that I met him in, he prays for people with metal parts in their bodies, and the metal gets ejected out of their body. And literally at Scarborough Spa on the stage, there's a burn mark where what would seem like soul that just came out, landed on the stage out of this woman that he prayed for. Suddenly she could move things that she couldn't move before because now all the metal's gone.
Yeah.
And there's a burn mark on the stage and it's still there to this day. You kind of go, oh, yeah. Anyway, so he would teach, 300-400 students about the miraculous. It's kind of his thing. It's the thing that he moves in. And he would get to the end of each term and he'd always do like a prayer for the sick kind of thing. And all the other students from different streams around this Christian university would come. And so he was doing one of these and there was hundreds of people gathered in the room. And he felt God say there are 30 people in this room that need a creative miracle. Give an altar call. So I've never been in a service where anybody has given an altar call for creative miracles. Only those that need the really hard ones, please come. If there's something quite deformed coming out here. And so he gave this word that there were 30 people that had some kind of deformity, and he said, and they're from birth, and it's affected your self-esteem. Come forward. And 30 people came out the front. And so they started to pray, and, club foots were changing and clicking back into place, and paralyzed arms were being healed, and all the way along the line, as his students, not just him, were praying for people, incredible, creative, instantaneous, not like a headache going, not even like a deaf ear hearing, but we're talking about deformities being healed instantly. And he's at the end of the line, and there's a young girl, she must have been about 20 years old-ish, something like that. And she had a severely disfigured face. It was almost as if half of her face had been burnt. It hadn't. It was a disfigurement from birth. But she was normal in every other way other than this severe disfigurement down her face. And he walked up to her and he reached out his hand to put his hand on her face. And, of course, at first she's not used to people going anywhere near her face. Obviously major emotional and psychological issues all related to it, as there would be. But then, of course, she realizes why she's there, and she pauses again and no, go for it kind of thing. And he puts his hand on her face, and he says, as he prayed, he saw a hand reach from behind him. It was the hand of God. And a hand went into his hand. He saw this in like a vision, And as the hand went into his hand, her face turned to putty under his hand, and he could feel it moving underneath his hand. 30 seconds later, he pulled the hand away, and there was a perfectly formed face. Beautiful. She dropped to her knees, and she began to pray. Jesus, I knew you loved me. I've asked you since I was 4 that you would heal me, and I knew one day you would. Thank you. I know you love me. Man, what it takes for people to step into high, thriving places. It takes boldness to give an altar call for creative miracles. Anybody? A guy was flying back from a conference at Bethel, Redding, and in California, and he's flying back, and the air stewardess that's serving him, she just happens to mention she's got a bad back, and so he goes, well, I've been in a healing conference all week. Would you like me to pray for you? She said, yeah, that'll be fine. So he lays his hand on her back, and she falls over. The stewardess, 30,000 feet, she's fallen over. And right, okay. Anyway, she gets up. I'm completely healed. She gets on the tannoy and says, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't ask this guy's permission, ladies and gentlemen, there's someone here can heal the sick. If anybody has got any pain in their body, make your way to the front of the aircraft right now, and he will pray for you. So people start to shuffle towards the front of the aircraft, and the guy's like, what are you doing? A guy 4 rows back who he doesn't know stands up and says, I've been at the same conference, shall I catch for you? So at 30,000 feet, they're going down and the guy's catching them, and there's this healing line. Talk about God moving in high places. Takes boldness on a plane. Just turn around to someone and go, I'll pray for you. Yeah. And can you just put yourself there? Just, yeah. Like it's the most normal thing in the world. I'm going to pray for people, and bang, yes. Down they go. Wild stuff. John Conrath, I like John Conrath, don't you? Yes. He's great. Yeah. He was telling me a story the other week. He was in, I can't remember if it's India or Africa now, but he was either one of the two places doing meetings, and there were several thousand people there, and it's him and his brother ministering. And they were just seeing incredible stuff, like, in an instant, 13 blind eyes would open and 10 deaf ears would open, and rows of people would just leap out of wheelchairs in the worship with no one touching them. He said at one point there was a physical wind that blew through the building, and God just began to move. It was the most incredible days of his life. And he was at this conference, wild stuff happening. And of course, him and his brother, you know what John's like. It's like a child in a sweet shop. Do you know what I mean? Wow, God's moving, and they're praying every day. And it got to about day 3, and they had seen everything you can imagine. Creative miracles, deaf ears opening, blind eyes seeing. I can say blind eyes hearing then. The lame walking, people getting out of wheelchairs. And they're praying before the 3rd or 4th day. And they're like, we just seen it all. This is like the book of Acts. What more is there? And then John's brother said, well, there is one more. We haven't seen the raising of the dead. And they're like, well, let's believe God for it tonight. So they're there and they say, God, We thank you for all the incredible miracles that you've been doing. Together, we ask you that tonight we would see the dead raised in Jesus' name. And they prayed over it, and then they went off to the meeting. And they sat on the platform during the worship, and the worshippers all going for it. And suddenly the crowd parts, and in come 4 men carrying a body. And they lay the body down on the dirt floor in front of the platform. And John's brother leans over to John and says, well, what do you think? And John says, well, I think she's dead. So they're like, well, let's go for it then. And they leap off the stage and stand over this woman and rebuke the spirit of death. And as they pray, suddenly she breathes again. And then she looks. And she tells the story afterwards, I was with Jesus. And suddenly I heard your voice behind me rebuking the spirit of death. And I began to be drawn back into my body. And suddenly there you were speaking to me. But then she looked down and she said, where are the tumours? There have been tumours all over her body. Every tumour had left. Wow. Incredible. The things that God does. Here's my confession. You ready for it? I find such boldness intimidating. Now, all of you gung-ho ones that think you're doing this every week, fine, go for it. Lovely, you should be here preaching, not me. But for everyone else in the room that's normal and truthful, if I'm honest, those 3 stories bear no resemblance to my life. And to how I feel. It's great to hear about stories that are far away, done by someone else. And it's even easier to believe them when that person is now dead.
Yeah.
I read it in a book. Smith, if only we knew Smith. You know that Smith was actually, and I heard this from someone that used to listen to him, Smith was a really boring preacher. You would rather listen to me. Honestly. Until the Spirit of God turned up and the miracles started pinging. But you'd sit there for an hour or 2 wondering, where on earth is he going? And then the presence would come and bam. The true great things of thriving Christians, of men and women of God walking in the ways that I believe should be normal for the church, should be normal in my life, require a level of boldness that actually, if I'm honest, I find quite intimidating. If I'm honest, I love to hear you talk about it, Jarrod, from the front. I love to hear you tell the stories, but actually it bears little resemblance to my life. Is anybody truly on that planet?
Yeah.
We think that there are men of God out there doing stuff that's so different. And if only we could be like them, how amazing our lives would be. But we're not like them. We're doing the school run. We're trying to bring up kids to know the Lord, or at least walk in a straight line. We've got hair follicle problems and leg problems and breath problems and financial problems and anybody else's real world and relational problems. And, you know, I'm sure Smith never had any of this. He probably just glowed in the dark. If only I was Reinhard. I remember being on the stage with Reinhard when he gave the altar call and 1.3 million people came to the Lord in one service. I remember seeing people both, well, they were dying in the services too. They were so big and they brought very sick people in. But I also saw blind eyes opening, deaf ears opening, lame people walking, wheelchairs carried through the crowds because somebody had jumped out of the wheelchair. Reinhard, I'm sure of it. Work with me. It's quite intimidating. This guy, when he preaches, the local authorities have actually said before, don't put your stage by the graveyard because the graves will all open. You must put your stage the other side of the field from the graveyard.
Yeah.
Imagine if that was your reputation.
Yes.
My confession is I don't feel anything like that. I feel a million miles from that. I'm sure they hear God every moment, but not me. 43 years and you're still working on your prayer life. Anybody else?
Yeah.
And there are days when you think, got it.
Yeah.
And there are days when you think, 43 years and how far have I got? Still don't like Leviticus.
Yeah.
Numbers, don't go there. Even worse. Has anybody actually read all the Numbers? Come on. Darren will have done. Look at him. Look at all. Teacher mindset. He'll have gone through them all and found significance in all of them, but not me. I look at all these numbers. I can't do maths anyway. We look at great men of God and we add a certain shine to who they are. And we say, to do that, they must glow.
Yes.
They must just have this ease. They must have this voice, these visions, They must be somewhere that I could never be. Actually, here's the truth. No, they don't at all. See, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not perfectly coiffed. I look across to Vicky. And my hair's all up here like this, and the bald bit's really showing. I try and cover it up for you guys, because it's just not fair on you. But as I lean across romantically to Vicky and say, good morning, darling, and there's all that morning breath. No, are you kidding me? Anybody else normal like me? You're trying to be the man of God and you're going, for heaven's sake, Zach, just behave. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. Trying to sound like you know what you're doing. Hallelujah. And you haven't got a clue what you're doing. You know the truth? There aren't men of God out there like that. I've spent time with some of these men of God. They come off the platform and go, was that all right? Did I miss it? And they were up there all confident with this boldness. You think, where does it come from? And then you see them, and they go through periods of confusion and need and pain. Smith Wigglesworth had terrible kidney stone problems. He was there praying for people whilst in agony himself, he was seeing miracles. Just probably he would have to wake up and go, oh, another day to go and do what I'm supposed to do. William Booth, he went blind near the end of his life. He said, I've done what I could do for God with my eyes. Now I'll do for God what I can without my eyes. I'm going to serve. I'm going to keep going. We're just, there's sides to us that are incredibly normal.
Yeah.
And so what I want to talk about for the next 3 hours is, I want to talk about not men of God that float. I want to talk about boldness for broken people.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how God puts his divinity on our dysfunction. He uses incredibly normal people. People in pain. People that haven't got it all together yet. People with a history that they'd rather forget. People who have made decisions that they wish they'd never made. People that have been places where they wish their feet had never gone. How does God put his super on our natural, his extra on our ordinary? We have a God who is able to take hold of incredibly normal people and make something of them.
Yeah.
That's what God does. You see, whilst we think that people don't have to work at their prayer lives and don't have times of being disappointed, Wesley died disappointed with his prayer life.
Yeah.
Turned the nation upside down, but near the end of his life, he said, I wish I was better at prayer. Yeah. I just don't feel I quite have the energy anymore. And you're like, man alive. You basically brought a fifth of the country to the Lord and you're still concerned about your prayer life.
Yeah.
Here's the truth. God always uses broken people. Our dysfunction is part of what he does. He takes a hold of incredibly normal people, not ones who are sparkling around as if, yes, my prayer life's all sorted. I never have a bad thought. I never feel envious or greedy or lonely. I never feel confused. No. He takes people that have loneliness and confusion and worry. And let me tell you this, he takes sinners because he's got no one else to choose. He has to choose sinners. That's good news. He makes something great out of sinners. And if you think you're not one, come here. I'll help you find out you are one. Oh, yeah. I've discovered this, that we're all a little bit dysfunctional. Don't look at me like that. You are. You're dysfunctional. No, I'm not. Faith preachers go, no, I'm not. I said, come here, sonny. Listen, live a little bit longer, you'll realise we're all dysfunctional. We've all got our little foibles and our little ways and our little fears and our little wonderings and our little hang-ups and our little panic buttons. But God uses us if we just find out how to be bold. He uses bold, broken people.
Well, I hope tonight God has encouraged you or touched your life in some way. Please leave a comment or email us. We'd love to hear from you if you've been encouraged by these broadcasts. There is a free album waiting for you to download if you sign up to our e-news. And now, if you stick around, I'm going to tell you about the Tribe, our online learning community. And if you want to come and get involved in that and get connected and stay connected to us in the future, then join our Tribe. Hi, I'm Jarrod Cooper. I want to tell you about the Tribe. The Tribe is our global online learning community made up of believers, leaders, pastors, influencers, artists, all devoted to growing in God together. We're passionate about the things of the Spirit, growing in prophecy, miracles, signs, wonders. We're passionate about revival and the reformation of society, God doing something that will transform the world around about us. And we're passionate about great leadership, doing things with skill and integrity that, again, will impact the world around about us. There's 3 tiers to the Tribe. The basic level is Learn, and that's access to our growing library, over 400 units of video, audio, and e-courses to grow you in your faith and walk with God. There's a private Facebook group, an Instagram group where you can interact with others and with us in a more live way. Tier 2 is called Lead, and it's our global leadership tribe where we add a lot more leadership content. As soon as you join, you get 4 of my books on leadership and how to grow in the area of leadership, and every book that we write during your membership you will get for free sent to you as an ebook. And then that tier has its own private Facebook group and Instagram group where you can connect with others that are growing in the same journey. Tier 3 is an extension of Tier 2 really. It's called Lead Plus, and it's where you can take your whole team, up to 10 people, and have them join under one membership so you're all learning and growing together. I want to invite you to join us on this journey. Join us in the Facebook group, the Instagram group, where we can interact together and then enjoy the massive amount of teaching on the Tribe Zone that could absolutely transform your ministry. Isn't it wonderful that we can connect around the world like this now with the power of the internet? Let's use it for good, and let's walk together and grow together in the things of God.